If you've been following along on the lessons that we've done so far, I think there's one thing that we can all agree on. Watch parts are very tiny, tolerances are very small, and trying to accurately lubricate jewels, end stones, and pallet forks is really hard. If you've been through all 18 lessons that we've done so far, hopefully you've decided that this is something that you want to pursue. And if that's the case, the first piece of equipment that I would invest in before staking sets, before jeweling sets, before mainspring winders is a microscope. Microscopes are game changers in the world of watch repair. But with so many options, how do you know what to get? Today, I'm going to show you my setup that I use, as well as a lower cost option and an option that you should absolutely stay away from. So let's go ahead and we'll just jump right in. Now the system that I use is an Microscope SM3T triocular microscope. So it has 2 eyepieces, then it has an additional port to mount a camera. It is a single arm boom as opposed to a double arm. And it comes with a magnification factor of ×10 on the eyepiece, which is called the ocular lens. And then the objective lens is a variable 7 times to 45 times magnification. To figure out what the total magnification for any microscope is, you take the magnification level of the eyepiece, which in this case is 10 times, and you multiply it times the objective lens, which in this case is 7 to 45. So this particular microscope has a total magnification level of 450 at the top end. And that's way more than you'll probably ever need. So binocular microscopes typically are going to have adjustable eyepieces. And what this allows you to do is to turn the eyepieces in until the view becomes a single field of view. Now, the next thing to understand about microscopes when you're looking through one like this is that you don't press your eyes all the way to the lens themselves. You want to hold your eyes about an inch off the lens to get the best view. So a few minutes ago, I mentioned that a magnification level of 450 is probably more than what you're ever going to use. Let's look at this microscope straight out of the box with a variable magnification level of between 70 and 450 and see what that looks like. So here we're looking at about 70 times magnification. And as you can see, it's awesome. I mean, you can really see the jewel and how big it is. And then when we bring it into 450, I mean, the jewel basically looks about the size of a basketball. It's huge. You can even see the pivot turning inside the jewel hole. Now, in watch repair, that's awesome. But the problem is when you have this much magnification, you have a very small field of view. And you only have about 3 to 4 inches between the objective lens and the movement, which is not really practical if you're trying to work on the movement at the same time. Now, the way that we improve the situation with the microscope in the field of view is by using what's called a Barlow lens. So basically what a Barlow lens is, it's an auxiliary lens that goes in between the objective lens that's in the microscope head, and it sits in between the objective lens and the movement, altering the magnification of the objective lens. So if we wanted to, we could get a Barlow lens that had a 2 times magnification, and that would increase the magnification from 450 to 900, but we don't really need that. So what we use is a Barlow lens with a 0.5 times magnification. And this is going to do 2 things. One, it's going to cut the magnification level in half. So we're going to go from a variable magnification of 70 to 450 to 35 to 225, which is still more than enough. But the biggest advantage of the Barlow lens is now we're able to raise the microscope head higher, giving us about an 8-inch working area, and still have plenty of magnification. The Barlow lens simply screws to the bottom of the objective lens. And now we have a working distance of just about 7 inches between the bottom of the Barlow lens and our tabletop. So now let's look at what 35 times magnification looks like, and we'll zoom in to the 225. So now we're looking at 35 times magnification. And the other thing that you'll notice is that we have a much wider field of view now. And we have absolutely plenty of room to use screwdrivers and actually work on the movement just like if we were using a loop. So now you can see with our full magnification, which at this point is 225 times, you can see we still have plenty of magnification and we're still able to work comfortably under the microscope. Now, the other thing that I use on my microscopes is I use a camera. And the camera that I use is called a high-air digital camera. This allows me to connect the camera to my computer where I can either take video or I can take pictures right on my laptop. To install any camera into the triocular port or the camera port, you first have to get an adapter. And in this case, it's a 0.35 times adapter. That gets attached, and then the camera just gets screwed to the top. Then it simply has a power cord, and then you plug a USB in that connects to the computer. All the videos that I do that are close up are filmed on this particular camera directly into my laptop. Now, the last thing you need is you need lighting. And in this particular case, it's just a matter of getting an LCD ring. There's actually a ring in the Barlow lens where the adjustable screws fit into that slot, and then you can just tighten it down. Now, a setup like this is one of those investments that you will make in equipment that you're going to use every day. A lot of people are worried about, does it change your depth perception? How easy is it to actually work under a microscope as opposed to a loupe? And I can tell you that this type of setup is unbelievably great to work under. I can go from my microscope bench to my high bench just by rolling backwards in my chair. And I can literally sit and do this all day long. There's no problems with things like depth perception or even really getting used to working under the microscope because it just becomes so fluid and so easy. Now, there are some things that you're always going to have to use a loupe for. For example, some work you have to look at it horizontally. Like if you're using a hand press, or if you're using a staking press, or even a jeweling set, you still need to be able to look horizontally. And for that, microscopes don't really work. So that's when I go over to the high bench. But a setup like this is going to run about $515. I did put links in the description and in the comments in case you're interested in looking at this stuff. Now, if you're not really interested in being able to work under a microscope all the time, or you don't have the room for it, there's another option that at least gives you the opportunity and the ability to be able to inspect parts much easier than trying to do it through a 15 times loupe. Now, when you're looking at digital microscopes, you're going to see microscopes that range anywhere from $10 or $15, up to $250, and then you can even go much higher than that if you wanted to. The ones that are in the $15, $20, $30 range, I could just tell you the resolution is so poor that I wouldn't even really consider those as an option at all. This particular one is a brand called OPQ PQ, and these run about $80. It has a 7-inch screen and has a variable focus field. You're not really going to be able to work under a microscope like this, but it is definitely going to do the job as far as inspecting parts. Here we're looking at a balance jewel, and you can see detail and the clarity is pretty good. Now we're looking at the teeth on a third wheel, and you can see for inspection work, this is going to be more than adequate. Here's a jewel in a main plate, and as you can see, the view is fairly large, so you're definitely going to be able to inspect jewels with this as well. Now, another type of microscope that a lot of people look at, and this is the one that I would absolutely recommend that you don't use, which is also available from Microscope. It's binocular, has adjustable eyepieces. The difference in this type of microscope, which also has a small boom arm, is that the ocular lens is 20 times, but the objective lens is only 1 times. So the effective total magnification for a microscope like this is going to be 20. The biggest problem that I have with it is it's just like looking through a loop. You have a little tiny dot that you're looking at, so you have absolutely bare minimum field of view. You would never be able to work under anything like this. And for about $225, you'd be better off going with an $80 digital microscope or saving up to get a real binocular type of microscope that has an adjustable field and better magnification. Well, guys, this video is going to conclude the basic series on watch repair. The videos coming up, I'm going to start with basic repairs that a watchmaker would commonly do, primarily things like replacing crystals, reworking watch hands, case polishing, and things like that. I'm also going to sprinkle in some instructional videos on how the escapement works, how to perform escapement inspections before we start moving into some of the more complicated repairs. When I first started this channel, I had no real idea how well it would do. What I really wanted to do was just bring information to people that I wasn't seeing anywhere else. And we just crossed the 2,000 subscriber milestone, and I couldn't be happier. And I'm more committed than ever to continue to bring quality information to you guys. So I want to thank you for your support, and because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in the next video.